It's not unusual to have fish in any tank. Sorry guys, I was listening to music and I just got back from a road trip up to Redfish Bluefish where I picked up, a couple of fish from good old Jason up at the Whidbey Island store. Took a couple ferry rides over to the Olympic Peninsula and back, but this is the tank that isn't getting new fish for once. This tank though, the heater died on, and so I've decided that it's going to become the cold water tank. So we've got tin Winnie danios in here, or gold ring danios. You'll see them. There's a female. And the males have that nice purple color already chilling in there. And then what we've got in here are white cloud minnows. Now, these were called tanned minnows for a long time because of a Boy Scout that discovered them by the same name. Now, I love these fish, and I was able to source these, which these are kind of a wild variety in this tank already, whereas the ones in this bag, we'll cut them out in just a moment, but they are, you see those long fins on them with the yellow and the orange to them, and then they've even got a red snout that looks like a little pig snout. See, he's got two bubbles on his snout. But these are great fish in that they can take temperatures down to, say, 62, 65 degrees, no problem. They'll be fine. So this tank, which has no heater and just hangs out in the room, will go well. And these guys are fully mature. There's two males and a female. So I tried to get a couple females in this gathering. And we're going to cut them loose in 1 second here and then release them. Other than that, we've only got a nearite in here and 7 tin Winnie danios plus the 4 existing, 3 existing Meteor Minnows. These are the domestic variety of Meteor Minnow, and they are from the Czech Republic, which Redfish Bluefish, where Jason, the shop Jason owns up in Whidbey Island, in kind of an obscure spot in Washington, but a beautiful one. His shop specializes in importing only fish from like rare spots in Europe, basically, or very high-end fish strains from Europe that we like hardly ever see here. In fact, that's where I got this little stud, who is the star of the tank. Everyone always sees this or this guy here, this veil tail, and I think Jason still even has some of these, and they were imported about a year ago. They've done really well. Other than that guy, this is who always gets the attention from all the visitors. So I mean, the Europeans are spawning and breeding a lot of fish that you will never see in America. And that is exactly what some of these fish I'm going to show you in this video are. But these you may have seen. These are bred in Hong Kong and Taiwan as well. So they make it to the American market frequently. But they're usually a little more expensive. He just had a good deal on them. So let's set them free. Free Willy. Alright, so these guys are nowhere near their full grandeur because they've been stressed and in a car for hours, but here they are. Focus. So you can see, look at that color. I mean, even when they're faded, you can tell how pale their body is compared to what they should look like. And part of this is that it's also cold, and they've been in a tropical tank for a long time. So you can see this is a male here. And he has got just incredible, I mean, look at the orange on the anal fin. And you get a little bit of that, but not to the same degree. See, with the females, the males have that huge dorsal fin, and they've got the orange tips on their pectoral fin, whereas the females, not so much. So I wanted to show you guys as I'm putting these guys into a quarantine tank so as not to get the other ones sick. There is a really bright male. So you'll see he is intensely bright, and the females and males of the short fins are much harder to tell apart. It's probably a male because of the coloring. There's some color on the side flanking, even though it's supposed to be all white like an albino. And the male, we'll get him, he's a little bit shocked at the moment. I think the water has got him a bit flustered, but look at the colors on this guy, on his fins. I mean, just incredible. So, pretty cool. Now they, like I said, are cold water fish. This is my cold water quarantine. We've got some bettas in here, and that's not to say that bettas are necessarily a cold water fish, but they can stand the 72 to 74 degrees of this room, no problem. I mean, even actually, one of my luminatus that has dropsy that was being treated, who's in here, can withstand that. And you know what? I think I'm gonna put this little bugger, while we're thinking about it, over here in with the other QT tank, which is for when I'm not sure about a fish. Now, a fish that you may not have seen on my channel or on any channel is the betta minopa, and these guys are really a fun fish too. Really beautiful turquoise to even almost like a sapphire blue eye. They hide in the substrate, and they are the smallest of the wild betta species. These are full grown here. This is a female, and we've got a male somewhere back here. The male is much more colorful. He's got a very nice blue to him, but they hang out in the moss and do their thing like that all day. So what do we have lined up next? Well, next on the docket, we have one you're probably familiar with, which is the lovely, no, it's not the scarlet batis, but it is the lovely chili rasboras, which are one of the smaller fish in the hobby. Don't ever grow much over an inch, and these guys are micro predators. They will eat any teeny tiny little stuff. They will eat flake food and dry food, but honestly, in most tanks, you have enough microflora and fauna in the form of, you know, scuds and baby fish that hatch that you never know about and things like that, that's what they're gonna eat. That's what they prefer to eat, and they will eat that, as well as like little plankton size things. And these ones, as all the fish are gonna be at this exact moment, are stressed, but they are a really beautiful fish. These ones are the European variety, where the females have peach and orange on their side rather than a big black spot as much, whereas the males will develop that. They're still a little young here, but again, what's interesting here is we have a batis fighting for dominance with another batis, and I guess they wanted to steal the show, so there those are. One of my batis tanks. Now, the other fish that are in here that you may have seen on my channel, but they are very unusual in the hobby these days, are the amber, or ember, sometimes they're called, barb. Now this is another fish where that's as big as it gets. I've had these for nearly a year now, and there's a dozen in here or so. There's probably about 10 in here actually, but they are a really pretty African fish, and they're hard to spawn in that they have one of the smallest eggs, little teeny larval eggs when they hatch. I mean, they're like smaller than a grain of salt. Actually, probably about half the size of a grain of salt, each little egg that they have. So they're a hard fish to raise, but I figured that putting those in with some of the other smallest fish, these little chili rasboras, will be great. These guys come from water that's generally pretty acidic, has lots of broken down debris of leaves and things like that, and they're from the island of Borneo, and you can see them all there hanging out. They're pretty interested in what's going on, and so is the scarlet batis that's hanging out there. Now, what makes these different from most rasboras is they're actually in the Rasboras family, and or genus rather. And the Rasboras genus, even though it's called a rasbora, the way they're different is that they have an extra like 3 or 4 vertebrae in their tail section. So same with Phoenix rasboras and others that have that Rasboras name on them. These were only discovered in 1991, and if you haven't been in the hobby long, you might assume that things like celestial pearl danios, or even for this matter, Turkana jewel cichlids, that these things have been around a while, or the various colors of shrimp. And they haven't. I mean, these guys were discovered in 1991 in Borneo, so they haven't been around too long in the hobby. And likewise, these shrimp haven't been around that long in the hobby. And these fish are from one lake in Africa, and they have not been around long in the hobby, although they have a few cousins that have been around a little longer in the hobby. But just pointing that out, that we have quite a few fish here that while we're talking, that haven't been in the hobby long. Now, the next set of fish that we're going to be looking at that I got, I'm going to save my favorite for last, but these are a danio, and these danios are hands down the most beautiful, I don't know how, I mean, it blows my mind that they have so many colors on them. They are Chopra danios, or glow light danios, not like glow fish, but they're called glow light danios. Now, they're in 2 layers of plastic here because we wanted them insulated while traveling, and they have the stripes kind of like an erythromicron, which is also related to like a CPD or the other micro danios. But these fish are found in Myanmar, northern Myanmar, and Thailand and Malaysia, and maybe even part of Laos, it seems, as well. But they have just these beautiful pastel colors, and then in the morning or when they're spawning, those colors get a lot brighter, which we'll see in a moment when we look at them out of the bag. The other group that's getting added is the pygmy corydoras. The pygmy corydoras are a fun little one in that they will just kind of act like schooling fish when there's 6 or more of them, so I have 7. And they'll just cruise around. They like, you know, areas that are sandy bottom. They don't really need vegetation. They don't have vegetation in the wild, honestly. They have some leaves and some dried sticks and branches, and when the water level, ooh, look at this guy leaping. Do you see that? So that's why this tank, even though I don't have a lid on it, stays like that, is because we've got several fish that are prone to leaping, and that really helps having about a 5-inch difference for them. Plus, it allows the water to fall, and even though this species, even though the corydoras don't need oxygen much, and neither do gouramis, the rainbow fish and any sort of danio are really going to like water changes and fresh water. So that's pretty fun to watch all those fish together when they're not fish that would normally be together. Now, here's one where we're going to have to move Chunky here, because he's going to become a problem. He's pretty nippy. But we have a very peaceful fish, unless you're talking about it dealing with other Panchax killifish. But this is just a beautiful fish, and it looks like we're going to have to get a shot of it out of the bag. But this fish is one that will hang out right near the top of the water most of the time. And this is a red chin Panchax, or Epiplatus, they are a really nice one. They come from the same area as the clown killie, or rocket killie as some people call them. I like calling them rocket killies. And they come in a couple different styles, like blue belly and purple belly, as well as black lip and red chin. And this happens to be the red chin variety, which isn't seen in the US a whole lot. If we get it to turn around, maybe we could see its chin and its mouth. It's got an interesting mouth. And epiplatus means that the top fin, the dorsal fin, it's Greek for flattened or level, and then the fin. So the back fin there, the dorsal fin, see how the back stays almost level with the body. It doesn't go up above. It doesn't peak above the body like most fish's dorsal fins do. So that's where the genus gets its name. But here you go. You can see its pink chin there, or red chin sometimes they call it. Depends on how colorful and excited it is. But there it is. And these guys can live alone. but I'd really like to get him a female. He's just going to be alone until I can find a female. Jason only got in males, so we're going to look for a female. And they live in swamps and bogs in Africa, like I was saying, in Africa. So it's fine if they're with fish that aren't strictly African fish, but they do want a fairly low TDS and usually some acidity. The acidity is pretty important for them. They do a lot better with acidity in the water, and yet again, they're jumpers. So we've got this, plus we've got all these red root floaters that are gonna hold them in. So we'll do one more little tour showing the fish once they have settled in with a little bit of their color, and I'll name them all again for you. And that is what I got this round. Other than, and now's a good time to say, if you want to keep track of this channel and what I'm up to and things that I'm doing, we also got some black forest wood. It's like a gnarled wood. I think it's actually a bush from Germany, and it's a real hard wood, kind of similar to spider wood, except they dig it up in the black forest of Germany, and it's kind of similar to like the swirls and knots on spider wood, with the texture of kind of like a manzanita almost, which is, I think, pretty cool. And tends to grow algae and just look really earthy. So I've got this big long 90L, and we've got a new twin star. That's the old twin star. We're gonna mount on it, we're gonna put sand, we're gonna aquascape it, but I'm thinking blackwater aquascape. I don't know, you guys let me know what you think I should do there. But I'm thinking maybe Borneo will be the country of origin, so we can put a bunch of the fish that are in here in with them. So I think that would be pretty fun. Alright guys, I'll see you in the future thanks to editing. The magic of editing. So here we have those little pygmy cories. They're real similar to Cory habrosus. Oh, another fish you might not have seen are betta macrostomas. These are baby bettas, and they're already over 1 inch long, but these guys will get 4 to 6 inches long. Kind of depends on what they're eating. If they eat high protein, they can get pretty big. They are the largest of the wild bettas, and they are mouth brooders, which is pretty cool, and definite little predators. But I'm hoping that these guys, as they seem to be, are going to go down and hang out with the apistos and the coolie loaches in here, and will help be part of the scavenger cleanup crew. That is, they're going to pick up any sort of food that gets past all these guys. So these guys eat a lot more voraciously, including some of the gobies that I have in here as well, but really in particular these apistos. These trilineatus are very feisty when it comes to feeding time, and so they go up and they eat, but then they kind of leave a mess. So the hope is that these guys will clean it all up for us. But they're a gem of a fish, super peaceful, super sweet, and they school very well, so they're a good one. So here we have that killifish, the epiplatus, and this is the pink chin one, and really a beautiful fish. You can see all the pastel colors. Look at that blue by the eye. I mean, and there's more of the pastel and iridescence behind the gills there on that first stripe, and that's another indicator of a male, plus the dark black lines are a good indicator too. Now he's hiding a little bit and low in the water, but there's that pink chin, even though it looks a little orange right now. But they are just a really beautiful fish. We'll see if we can get some light on him right now. I mean, just a really beautiful fish. So yeah, definitely I would recommend checking these out if you see them nearby, or go over to redfishbluefish.shop and feel free to check them out there. Alright, now this may be one of the most common fish that I gathered at Redfish Bluefish, but their coloration is anything but average or common. I mean, look at this for a danio, and they're not colored up right now. Look at this. They are a gorgeous color. They've got yellow and orange on their fins and stripes. They're a quick fish. think they're going to go well with these other fish, even though they're not from necessarily the same bodies of water. But I mean, look at how beautiful those Chopra are. Low light danio, Czech bred. I mean, you don't get much prettier than that danio right there for a cyprinid, for my money. I mean, and they will get much brighter. You guys will see in future videos. Be sure to like or subscribe to see just how bright they actually do get. It's remarkable. They get almost as bright as like a crib or a neon tetra in some lighting. It's really cool. They're an awesome blackwater fish. You can see with the Pseudomagil luminatus them cruising around right now. So hopefully they school with the pencilfish and the Pseudomagil luminatus, and they all get along well, as well as with the samurai gouramis. So it hasn't even been 10 minutes, and I just have to get back to these guys to show you real quick just how bright for a danio they are. They've got that beautiful luminescence on top, and then here comes the other ones right now. And even though there's algae on the glass for the little gobies in here, the body's got the pink in the tail, the yellow on the fins, the iridescent blue on the caudal fin. I mean, never have I seen Chopra danio anything like this vivid and colorful all the way through. But they're going to be an active top to middle water fish, and they're one that likes tropical water but can also be in the slightly subtropical water for a short while. So they'll do okay in this tank even though it's not heated, because the room will be about 80 degrees on a hot day, 70 degrees on a cold day. Coldest it ever gets is 70. So they will be doing quite well in this room and in this tank, and I'm excited. I'm excited to check up on them, and you know, honestly, we got to spawn these. They're too good not to have in America. So last fish is going to be the Rasboras. We got to set them free, and also I guess we can show you one more time that the epiplatus killifish, if he is hanging out anywhere nearby, although I think he may have, yep, he's right back here with his pink chin showing and all, if it'll focus. Come on, focus. Focus, Mr. Epiplatus. There we go. So it looks kind of orange still, his chin, but his body's got blue and yellow and dots and stripes and a lace stripe pattern on the back, and just gonna also be another really cool fish, especially when he fully colors up. Seems a little shy right now, but I'm hoping that these Chopra danios are going to kind of give him a run for his money on if he is at all slightly aggressive. They get kind of a bad rap, those Panchax. They get kind of a bad rap for being aggressive, the males, towards one another. But it really is within their own species mostly, and then mostly posturing amongst other species. So they'll make a face like they're tough, but that's it. And just to show you, in case you didn't know what a clown killie looked like, or a rocket killie, that's what one is right there. They hang out always right at the top, and they're one of the smallest little African killifish, and they look like a little black and white striped rocket with a flame coming out of their tail. So that's those. Now let's move on to these. Alright guys, so we are at the last of the new fish I picked up, and it's only been an hour, but look at the difference in color. I mean, beautiful. These are the chili Rasboras, or Veraris brigitae. Really beautiful. Now I had a dozen of them, or have a dozen of them, and you can kind of see some of the peach colors coming out in the females on their back, their tail section, rather than a strawberry or crimson. See there? It's kind of a peach, and that's just one of the cool traits of this European strain. And they also have more clear or translucent pieces of their fins. They have a little more variation than the uniform ones we see in the US. Also, they go really well with these little ember barbs. The ember barbs are going to be far more passive and timid, and so are the CPDs. See, I've got Celestial Pearl Danios back in there too that are young, very young fry. And so this tank is all pretty shy species, but it makes the Rasboras downright outgoing, like stand-up comedians or something. But here they are, a very beautiful fish. And I hope you guys enjoyed seeing this little mini introduction. See, there's a little bug right there that they're going to eat. That's a little amphipod or some sort of little scud right on that leaf. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you want to see more info on the other fish featured here, as well as the grow out of some of these fish, like this pencil fish, or information on shrimp, then stick with me and just hit that little bell to remind YouTube to let you know when there's new content on my channel, which is usually 2 live streams a week and 2 to 3 videos every single week, updated newly. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and I will talk to you later. Last shot. Look at these incredible danio Chopras. Their fins, and by the way, the pink chin Panchax, just looking magnificent. Kind of a lavender color with that orange and pink peach colored chin, lavender colored tail with yellow on it. Really cool. And then Pseudomagil luminatus alongside. These, for being $3 or $4 fish in the US usually, incredible looking fish. And the last thing I've noticed on them that I wanted to point out is, now that they've colored up for the tank, they've got a yellow lining on their anal fin on the males. And that's a real nice way to help tell them apart gender-wise. Alright guys, I hope you like this unboxing slash new critter video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.